figured I would do the her birth story video while I'm just walking around out here. So, it's kind of crazy. I mean, she was born 8 weeks early, so I moved to North Carolina with Jake in September 2019, and because we had to, like, in the military you have to wait until they get stationed somewhere, and he has to get housing first, so it was just like a long process. But in September 2019 I moved down here, and in October, the end of October, he had a field op where he went to California for a month, and it was just me and Blake just chilling at the house, and I was so bored, and we had already been there for like a week after Jake left. It had been a week, and we were just sitting at the house, and I didn't have a job here, didn't have friends, so it was super boring. So I packed Blake up, and we went back to Ohio to visit family, and I was like, well, we can go visit for Halloween and stuff, because it was the end of October, right around Halloween time. So I went back to Ohio, and everything was fine. I was just hanging out for about a week, visiting, and then another week goes by, and it was like middle of the second week that I was there, and I was going to go home that weekend. Like, I was only going to be there for like 2 weeks and then go back home. So I was going to go home soon, and my mom noticed my feet were like super swollen. I was having really bad headaches, which I thought was just normal pregnancy things, which sometimes it is. But my mom said that my feet were like really, really swollen, like it was not normal. So okay, I was gonna go down that street, but I'm gonna go down the street because somebody's mowing over there and it's gonna be loud. So she had a blood pressure cup at her house, and she started taking my blood pressure every 10 minutes for like 2 hours. So every 10 minutes she was taking my blood pressure, and she was like the highest it got really high. Like, the highest it got at home was like 190 over 100 or something, which is pretty high. So I called my doctor, and she was like, meet me at the hospital so we can check you out, make sure everything's okay. So I was like, okay. Meet her at the hospital. Me and my mom go. It's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. So it was, I went in 4 days before I had her, so it was Sunday the 2nd. Yeah, Sunday the 2nd of November. So November 2nd, 2019 is the day I went into the hospital. And they checked my blood pressure and everything, and by the time I got to the hospital, my blood pressure was so high, it was in the 200s. Like, it was high. It was like 220 over, I don't even know, 150 or something. It was ridiculously high. So they were like, yeah, you're not going home. Like, we can't get your blood pressure to go down, and you're gonna be here. And she was like, okay, so there's good news and bad news. And I was like, okay. She's like, the bad news is we can't get your blood pressure to go down, and you're gonna have to stay here. The good news is you're gonna have a baby in the next couple of days. So I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yes, that is good news, but it's also bad news because I am 8 weeks early. My husband is in California. He doesn't even have his phone. Like, how am I supposed to get a hold of him? I was freaking out. So they were like, don't worry, we'll get a hold of your husband. Like, we've done it before. People in the military on deployment and stuff, we've gotten a hold of them. So I was like, okay. Did not help. My anxiety was through the roof. I was freaking out. So they were like, they put me in a room, and they put me on magnesium. And oh my gosh, if you have never been on that, it is awful. I felt like my whole body was paralyzed. Like my brain was working, but my body was not doing what I wanted it to do. Which is the point of the medicine. They gave it to me because my blood pressure was so high that they thought I was going to have a seizure. So, it was awful. But, that happened. There's a car driving by, so it's going to be loud. Just hang on a second. So, they put me on magnesium, and then they gave me a shot in my thigh to help develop her lungs, since she was so little and so premature. So before she was born, obviously. So they gave me a shot in my thigh, and that was the most painful shot I've ever gotten in my life. Like, I don't know if it was the way they put it in my leg or if it was a huge needle. I have no idea, but it was so painful. So they gave me that, and then they had to wait 10 hours to give me another one in my other leg. So they're like, this is like the most important part. If we can make you safe and get these shots in you, it will tremendously help the baby. So I was like, okay. So I'm like just praying, like, please let me get through these next 10 hours without having a baby so they can give me this shot. There's another car. Okay, so I was like, just let me get through these next 10 hours, give me this shot, make my baby healthier, since she is going to be born so young. So thankfully I got both of them. And then about 2 or 3 hours after that, it was Tuesday at this point. Yeah, it was Tuesday. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. So it was the 5th. Yeah, it was November 5th. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So they tried to induce me. They did like the balloon thing. That didn't work. It was probably earlier than that. It was probably like 8 o'clock in the morning, because they tried a couple things. So it was like 8 in the morning. They tried the balloon thing. That didn't work. And then like 2 hours later, they tried this. I don't know if it was like a pill or what it was. I have no idea what it was. I was like, it's so hard to remember. Once your baby's born, you forget everything that happened. So I really don't know. They put a pill or something up in my cervix to try to break my water and induce my labor. That didn't work the first time, so they tried it at like 10 o'clock. It didn't work. All it did was make me have to go to the bathroom so bad, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was freaking out because I was on magnesium. I wasn't allowed to get out of bed. Like, I could barely move, and so I was like traumatized. I was so embarrassed that I had to use a bedpan to go to the bathroom. I was like, it was awful. So after that happened, they gave it like another hour and a half, 2 hours, and they tried again with the same thing. And that time it worked instantly. Like, the nurse put it in, she talked to me, like, let me know when you start to feel, if your water breaks or if you start to feel contractions, let me know. And I was like, okay. She walks out of the room, and not even 2 minutes later, I get my first contraction. I was like, oh, that was fast. And at the beginning, they're not bad. Like, they're just little. And I had all back labor. All of it was in my back. So that was terrible. But at the beginning, it wasn't bad. It was just little, tiny cramps almost, like period cramps. Like, it was not bad. So I was like, okay. I know it gets worse, but if it stays, like, not this bad, I will be A-okay. So, my contractions started at, like, noon on Tuesday. So, like, noon on Tuesday, the 5th, is when I went into labor. So, I labored for a long time, for almost 24 hours. It was like 17 hours or something. I know people labor way longer than that, so I'm grateful, but it would have been longer if she didn't come out so easy. But so I labored for about 17 hours, I think. I don't know, I'll do the math and put it up on the screen if it's wrong, because I went into labor at noon on Tuesday and had her at 9:17 in the morning on Wednesday. So I don't know how long that is, but we'll just say 17 hours for now. So I was in labor for 17 hours, got my epidural, because I was like, I cannot do this. I have a very, very low pain tolerance, and once it got to be, I was like 7 centimeters dilated, and I was like, I need this epidural. I cannot go any longer. So even when you decide you want an epidural, decide like an hour before, because it takes about an hour for the anesthesiologist to get in your room and assess you, and then it takes another 30 minutes for them to figure it out and put it in. So decide an hour and a half before you want it, so they can get the anesthesiologist in your room and get everything ready. Because by the time I got the epidural, I was like 8.5 centimeters dilated and really close to having her. So I had the epidural, and I finally was able to fall asleep. Like, the pain was so bearable, like I barely felt it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can finally take a nap. Because I had barely slept the whole time I was there, because I was so anxious about getting my husband there, which I forgot that part, but I got a hold of him through the Red Cross, and they put him on the first flight here. And he was here right before I went into labor. So he got here, or got to Ohio, like an hour before I went to labor. So right when they started to like try to induce me is when he got there. I'm just glad he got there after I had to go to the bathroom in my bed because I know he loves me very much, and like we're so open with each other, but that's just like a very embarrassing moment in my life, and I'm just glad he was not there for that. So he got there, and obviously I went to labor, whatever, got my epidural, and once I got my epidural, like 20 minutes after I got it, instant relief. Like I was like, this is the best drug on the planet. I was so happy. I took a 2-hour nap, and then my contractions got really, really bad again. So I woke up and turned they gave me like a little button thing for my epidural to turn it up. It wouldn't overdose me, like it only goes to a certain point. So I'm turning this thing up as far as I can, and then I start to feel so much pressure, and I'm like, this baby is coming now, like right now. I was like, I either have to take a massive shit or the baby's coming. Like there's no in between. And that's exactly what it feels like. If you never had a baby, it feels like you have to take a poop. It's bad, like the worst poop of your life. So I am like, we need to get a doctor in here. And the nurse is like, you better keep that baby in there until the doctor gets here, because I am not delivering this baby. There's too much paperwork. She was like joking around with me. She was really nice. But I was like, I had enough at this point. I was like, the baby is coming now. Like, I will catch it if I have to. Like, I will catch her. So the nurse is in there trying to keep my legs closed, like trying with all of her might to get her to stay in. And then took about 10 minutes. It felt like an eternity until the doctor came in there, but it took about 10 minutes. The doctor finally comes in, and as soon as the doctor comes in, I'm like, okay, I don't feel the pressure anymore. Like, she's fine, she's not coming. So we sit and wait for the next contraction. What felt like another eternity, just sitting there with the legs wide open and everyone just staring down there. And we're just sitting there waiting for the next contraction to come. Finally, it comes, and she's like, okay, we're gonna try to push. I push for like the 10 seconds, and then she's like, okay, take a break. And my mom told me before I went in to have her, like a while ago, like when I first found out I was pregnant, she was like, when they tell you to stop and take a break, don't let go of all of the pressure all the way, because if you let go of all of it at once, then the baby's just gonna go right back up. Like, it's like a suction cup, and it's just gonna go right back in. She's like, don't let go of it all the way. So I remembered that, thank God. So I was like, I let go, but I still had a little bit of like pushing down there, like I didn't let go all the way. And then the next contraction comes, like 30 seconds later. She's like, push again. I push for like 3 seconds, out. Baby's completely out. I was like, oh, I made a push for like 13 seconds. It was great. So my labor was kind of long, but my pushing was super easy. And she came, and there were so many doctors in the room. So they had, with my preeclampsia and my blood pressure being so high, and they were so scared I was going to have a seizure, and they had nursing students in there so they could see what a case looked like that. They asked me, I was like, I don't care. There's not going to be so many people in here. I'm not going to be paying attention. I don't care. So I was like, they have to learn somehow, right? So they get like 5 nursing students in there. I have like 5 nurses, and the midwife or doula or whatever they're called, I had her, and then I had the doctor. I think I had 2 doctors, like one to make sure my blood pressure wasn't getting too high while I was pushing and we didn't have to go to emergency C-section, and the doctor catching the baby. So, and then there was like a built-in room, like where they take the baby after the baby's born to like weigh her and everything. And she had her own set of doctors, like 5 nurses, 5 doctors, so many people, because we were so early and there was such a risk factor that they had to be careful and have so many doctors just in case something happened. So that did not make my anxiety any better. That made it so bad, because I was like, oh my gosh, why do they need all these doctors? Do they think something's gonna be wrong with my baby? Like, I was freaking out. So the baby comes, she cries, I cry, Jake cries. It's like so emotional. Jake cuts the umbilical cord, and he's freaking out because he's scared he's gonna hurt me or Mila. But obviously he didn't. He cuts the umbilical cord. They let me hold her for like a minute, not even, like 30 seconds, let me hold my baby. And then they take her to weigh her and clean her off a little bit. And I just hear her crying, and that's all I can think about. Like, she's healthy, her lungs are okay, she's crying, and her lungs, remember, would not have been fully developed, or possibly couldn't have been fully developed if I wouldn't have gotten those shots. Those shots were painful as hell, and my legs hurt for like 3 weeks after I had her from those shots, but worth it to hear her cry when she came out. So she cries, she's healthy. I'm sitting there bawling my eyes out. My mom's like, you did so good. She's giving me loving, like, kissing my head. She's like, you did so good. I'm gonna go see the baby. And I was like, okay. So Jake and my mom go to see the baby, and I'm just sitting there. But my grandma was with me. So I had Jake, my mom, and my grandma Judy in the room with me. And my grandma and my mom, I'm like super, super, super close with. And my Aunt Kathy, and she was gonna be in the room too if she was there, but she had left to take a shower. But she was with me the whole first 3 days that I was in the hospital, and she left like an hour before I went into labor, or an hour before I gave birth. She was there when I was in labor. She left like an hour before I gave birth. She's like, I'm gonna go home and shower and get change your clothes and come back. And I thought Mila dropped something. So she comes back and she's like, you're supposed to wait for me, like joking around, but she would have been in there too. So there's my grandma, my mom, and Jake in the room with me. And my grandma was on this side of my head when I was giving birth, and Jake was on this side. And then my mom was down there. She was like, I want to see all the action. I want to see my granddaughter come into this world. Like, she was all for it. Which, whatever, I don't care. She's my mother, and I'm like super close to her. So, that all happened. She came out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then, I forget what I was going to say. Oh, Jake and my mom went to go see Mila and make sure she was okay, like, see how much she weighed, like, see how pretty she was, everything. My grandma stayed with me. She's like, you did so good. She's rubbing my head, and oh my gosh, my grandma was a saint during birth, during labor. I had such bad back labor, like, it was so bad. The only thing that helped was my grandma pushing on my back with all of her strength. Like, if I was not in labor, that shit would hurt. Like, she was pushing hard, but I was like, you need to push, like, hard as you can on the very bottom of my tailbone. Like, oh, she is probably, like, she was exhausted. I was, like, wearing her out, and I tried to give her a break and let Jake do it, but he was not doing it right. And I love him to death, and he was trying so hard, but it was just not the way my grandma was doing it. So I was like, I need my grandma to do it. And so she was like a huge saint during this whole thing. I had my coffee. But she stayed with me, and then she went to go see Mila. And my mom came back. And they switched, so I wasn't alone. And then still can't go down that street because they're mowing over there. You can probably hear it right now. But after they weigh her and clean her up a little bit, make sure she's okay, they bring her back to me and let me give her a kiss. They didn't let me hold her again. They let me give her a kiss, and that was pretty much it. They took her down to the NICU after that, and I had to be on that magnesium for another 24 hours after I had her. So I wasn't allowed to get out of my bed, wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom by myself, everything. Which I hadn't eaten since I went to the hospital. Like, before I went to the hospital, I ate at like 3 p.m. on Sunday before I went. So like 2 hours before I went to the hospital. And it's now Wednesday. Like, I hadn't eaten anything other than like clear liquids. Like, I was allowed to have ice, water, and chicken broth. Which, by the time Wednesday came, chicken broth tasted disgusting and I didn't want it anymore. Like, I was so over it. And I was laying there and couldn't go to the bathroom, which obviously wasn't a problem because I hadn't eaten. But like, I had a catheter in, and oh my god. So I didn't know I was allergic to latex. I knew I had like, there's neighborhood dogs out. I knew I had like sensitivity to latex, but like, because latex gloves and stuff always made my hands itchy, but it wasn't like so bad that it like caused an allergic reaction or anything. So when they asked me if I was allergic to latex, I was like, no, I don't think so. So they put, I was like, no, I don't think so, but it does kind of make me itchy. I was like, are you gonna put latex on me? And we're like, no, we won't. They did. They didn't tell the other nurse that was putting the catheter in me that it was latex. They put a latex catheter in me. Terrible. I was in so much pain. I couldn't even, the contractions were better than that. I couldn't roll over in bed, nothing. Every time they came in to check the bag and they moved it, I felt like I was going to get sick. It was terrible. So I'm kind of like going back and forth. Like, this all happened while I was in labor and stuff. But, so I had the catheter in me. Well, they had to take it out when I gave birth, and then they had to put another one back in. And that was terrible. Oh my gosh, because it was so swollen from the latex. And, when they had to put another one in, because I had to sit in bed, I was like, please, I was like begging them, do not put one in me. Just put a bedpan under me, please. Do not put another catheter in me. Like, we have to. And I'm like, oh my god. Like, I cannot do this for another 12 hours, or 24 hours. So, I had to be on magnesium for another 24 hours. So, they were like, they put the other catheter in me, and I'm laying there, and I was just worried about my baby. My husband was down there with her, so I was like, okay, my husband, my mom, my dad, my grandma, my Aunt Kathy, they were all down there, back and forth, like, checking on me, checking on her, and I was like, I'm gonna take a little bit of a nap, because I barely slept since we got to the hospital. I've been so worried and stressed out, I'm starting to sweat. So, I'm going to take a little bit of a nap. Somebody make sure they're with Mila at all times. Like, I don't want her to be alone. I know she has nurses down there and doctors, but I was like, please do not leave her alone. So, I take like a 3-hour nap. I wake up and I am so emotional. There's another car coming, so give me a second. I'm so emotional that I do not have my baby with me. It was the worst 24 hours of my life. And it was actually 27 hours to be exact, because I had to wait for 24 hours for them to take me off the magnesium, and then I had to wait 3 hours for it to fully wear off and get up and go to the bathroom and make sure I was okay. So it was 27 hours before I was able to see my baby again. So I was like super emotional. I needed my baby. Like, I was a hot mess. And then the doctors kept coming in and checking my blood pressure. And they checked my blood pressure every 10 minutes for the entire time I was in the hospital. And I had bruises up and down my arm so bad. It was ridiculous. But, you know, it was okay. Like, I mean, I was fine. I was pushing a whole baby out of me. The bruises on my arms were not even a concern to me. But, so every time they came and checked my blood pressure and it was still high, I would have a meltdown. Every single time. I was like, when am I going to be able to get off this magnesium and go see my baby? I was hysterical. Like, I try not to cry thinking about it because it was so bad. And I was like, she's been with me for 7 whole months, because I gave birth to her exactly on my 7 months pregnant. So I feel like she's been with me for 7 whole months, and you're just gonna take her from me and I'm not able to see her. She's like, it's for your own safety. We can't take her in and out of the NICU. It's for her safety. We don't want her to get sick. It's very sterile and clean in the NICU. We don't want her to come out here and get sick. I was like, okay. I was like, I know they know what they're doing, and I love this hospital. This is the hospital I was born in, and I've been with these doctors since I was born. I've been with these doctors since I got pregnant. Like, they know what they're doing. So it was just very emotional. And I still hadn't eaten, and like the only thing I could talk about was breakfast food. Like, after I gave birth, I was like, once I'm able to eat again, I want every single kind of breakfast food they make. Pancakes, French toast, waffles, eggs, bacon, sausage, literally everything. So, bless my girl Paul. He went to Bob Evans and he got everything. Every single kind of breakfast food they make. He got biscuits and gravy, pancakes, French toast, sausage, bacon, everything. Oh my gosh. And he brought it to me right when my magnesium started to wear off, so I was able to eat again. But I was like, I need to go see my baby. Like, my magnesium's wearing off. Let me go see my baby. And she was like, the nurse was like, we have to switch you over to a postpartum room. And I was like, oh my gosh, can't you just take my stuff there? Like, make my husband take my stuff there and you take me down to see my baby. Like, I don't care where I go. I don't care where any of my stuff goes. You can throw it on the trash for all I care. I was just ready to see Mila. So she was like, it's right down the hall and only take a couple seconds and then I'll take you down to see your baby. I was like, fine, let's just make it fast. So we take my food and all my stuff to my room, my other room. We put it all in there. We just throw it in there. I was like, I'm not putting anything away. We're just putting it all down. I don't care. And I'm in a wheelchair. They wheeled me down to the other room. And then she wheeled me down, or she let Jake wheel me down. She was like, you okay with wheeling your wife down? He was like, yeah. So he wheels me down to the NICU. We go in, and I immediately am so emotional. I am crying. I am so happy. The lawnmower is really loud, so give me a second. Again, I didn't think the story would be that long, but I was in the hospital for a very long time. So, I finally get to see my baby, and I was a hot mess. I hadn't eaten anything, I hadn't showered, I hadn't even gotten out of bed in 5 days. So, I was like, disgusting. So, I'll post a picture of what, like, when I first got to actually hold her for longer than 2 seconds on the screen. Don't judge the way I look, because again, had been laying in bed for 5 days straight. Really, Mila? Just throwing her juice on the floor, on the ground. Okay, so don't judge the way I look. I had just had a baby, and my face was so broke out and so swollen from my blood pressure. My hair was a hot mess. It was terrible. Okay, hang on. It was like a breath of fresh air. I did not want to leave. I didn't leave her for like 5 hours. And then I went back to my room to eat because I was so hungry. I was like getting dizzy. I hadn't eaten forever. I was like, I need to eat. So I went back to my room, and my Bob Evans was cold at this point. And if you're from down North Carolina area, we don't have Bob Evans, which is very interesting because it's so good. If you know what it is, they have the best potato soup and the best breakfast. But anyway, sidetracked. So, I get back, I eat my Bob Evans. It's cold because it had been sitting there for 5 hours, but it was the best food I have ever eaten in my life. It was so good. I was like, this is the best food I've ever had. Oh my gosh. And I was completely satisfied. So I go back down after I eat. I go back down to be with my baby until my mom gets back. My mom had left that day to go be with her kids, my little sisters and stuff, make sure they're okay, because they had been with my dad for like 5 days. I go down to be with Mila, and I stay there until my mom gets back, because I had to go to the bathroom, and if you know, you know. Going to the bathroom the first time after you have a baby is the most terrifying thing in the whole world. It's scarier than having the baby. You think you're gonna push out all your organs. That's what it feels like. It's terrifying. So I was freaking out. I was like, I need to take a shower. I need to go to the bathroom, but I'm waiting until my mom gets here. Like, I am not going by myself. So I wait till she gets there. We go up to the room, and there are so many people in there. And I didn't really have postpartum depression, but when I was in the hospital, and there were so many people in and out, and my baby was still there, and I did have a little bit of postpartum depression when I was in the hospital still. Like when Mila was still in the hospital, I was still in the hospital, and there were people in and out, and I was so uncomfortable, and it was just a lot to handle, and I was getting really upset, and my mom had to ask everyone to leave. Okay, so my mom had to ask everyone to leave. I get undressed, and she helps me go to the bathroom and helps me take a shower, and it was fine. I was scared for nothing. Now, if I would have had more than a 3-pound baby, it probably would have been a little worse going to the bathroom. But I didn't tear or anything, so it wasn't that bad. I'm running out of breath. So that all happens. I take a shower, go to the bathroom, and then I think that night my mom, when she came back from the house, she brought me Clay's Cafe, which if you're in Ohio and you've been to the Newark Heath area, Clay's Cafe has the best stromboli. And my mom and dad, oh, bless their heart, brought me stromboli. So after I took a shower, I went to the bathroom. I sat and I ate half a stromboli to myself. It was so good. Oh, and then I wanted to go see my baby. So me and my mom and my dad went down there. And we took turns with my mom, my dad, and me. Because there could only be like one other person with you, other than, like, me and Jake could be down there at the same time, and then one other person. So I went down with my mom, and then I went down with my dad, and then I went down with my sisters. I went down with Jenna and Ella at the same time because they were little, and it's not really that big of a deal. I went down with Jordan, my other sister. I went down with each of my sisters at the same time, like separate, whatever. You know what I mean. So they could all meet her, and then we go back to the room. What's wrong, Mila? Go back to the room and they leave. I go home. Mom was like, do you need anything else? Do you need me to take everything? I'm like, no, I'm okay. I get to see my baby now. I can go down and see her whenever I want, so I'm okay now. Like, I'm perfectly fine. And you know what I was just thinking about? I hope this phone being in the stroller isn't making it like super loud. I'm not even going to be able to hear any of this story, and I'm going to have to remake this video. That would be a pain in the butt. This video is like 40 minutes long. So, I need to wrap this up. So, that's basically the whole story. Like, I had a little bit of depression with everyone being able to see her and not me being able to see her. Like, everyone kept coming in. Like, she's so beautiful. Like, when I was still in bed and couldn't get out of bed for that 27 hours. She's so beautiful. She's perfect. Like, we just went and seen her and held her, and I'm like, can you not? Like, I love all the support, and I love that you get to meet her and everything, but can you not come tell me about it? Because it was making me so upset. Like, I was so sad. Like, I couldn't even see my own baby. And then people were like, when are you going to post about her so I can post about her? And I'm like, I haven't even been able to see my baby. Like, I'm not concerned about posting about her on social media. Like, I just want to see her. Like, you can wait. Like, oh, that's so annoying. That was annoying. And the beginning of going into labor and going into the hospital, I knew I was going to give birth at that hospital. But not everyone, there was a few select people that were like, you need to take her to a different hospital. This hospital is not equipped to deal with premature babies that small. And I was like, basically, I'm doing whatever the hell I want. This is my child, my body. I'm the one giving birth. This is the hospital I was born in. I was perfectly healthy. All my sisters were born in this hospital. Like, I have been with these doctors since the day I found out I was pregnant. I am not going to a different hospital. Like, that pissed me off. And it made me really upset. Like, I started crying. I was pissed off until they got my sister-in-law involved, which anyone knows, me and Stevie are really, really close. We're like best friends. Like, we are super close. Other than me and Rachel. Like, Rachel's my best friend since 2nd grade, but Stevie is my best friend too. So, like, you know, we're super close. And they got her involved because they were like, she'll probably listen to you. And they're making Stevie text me these things. And then I have a meltdown. Like, I am crying. I am breaking down over her not believing in me, her not trusting me. It wasn't even her. It was her family. But we're okay now. Like, that really pissed me off. Like, they thought that I was going to listen to them over my own intuition and my mother. Like, my mother, he was even like, it is your choice. This is your baby. This is your body. It is your choice. If you want to go somewhere else, we will. If you don't, we will stay here. Like, we will do whatever you want to do. I was like, good, because we were going to do that anyway. So that, between that and then the people wanting to post her before me, or want me to post as soon as she was born so they could post about her, was pissing me off. Like, I was almost to the point where I was like, no one needs to come visit her, like, except for my mother and my grandma and Jake. Like, my mom and Kathy and my grandma, those are the three closest people that I have to me other than my kid and my husband. But I was like, I'm about to be like, no one's coming to visit her because this is bullshit. Like, I'm tired of dealing with this. So that and not being able to see my baby for 27 hours, not being able to eat for a while, like, all of that, and then everyone coming in and out, and I'm trying to learn how to breastfeed, which is already an emotional thing. Like, since she was so early, I was barely producing, so I was, like, struggling. All of that combined just put me into, like, a really deep depression. Like, I was really upset. Why is there a car back there? So, like, I was really depressed over that. But by the time I got home, I was fine. But I went home, like, they kept wanting me to leave the hospital to go out to get food and stuff. And I'm like, no. Like, my husband can go pick me up food. My mom can go pick me up food. Stevie can go pick me up food. Like, there's plenty of people that can go get me food and bring it back to me. Or I can eat at the hospital. Like, I am not leaving. And they were pissed about that, too. Because I wouldn't leave my baby at the hospital. She's with nurses. Okay. And? So, that was all annoying, too. But there was a lot of annoying factors in this that made me super upset. But I finally ended up leaving the hospital so I could go get clothes, because I had no clothes. I went there with one outfit, and I had been wearing that outfit all day the day that I went into the hospital, so it was dirty. So I went home to get clothes and shower in my parents' shower instead of the hospital. I wanted to go see Blake because I was an emotional wreck about Blake too when I first went into the hospital, and they were like, you're going to be here for a while, we're going to have a baby. And I was like, what about my dog? Like, I had just gotten him. We got him at 6 weeks, and he was only like 8.5 weeks at this time. Like, he was a baby, and he had been with me for 24 hours a day since we had him. So I was like an emotional wreck about Blake. Thankfully I had my sister Jenna. She was 10 at the time Mila was born, but she is like, just like me, motherly figure, taking the role over mom when mom's gone. That's exactly how I was at her age. I was the same age as she is when she was born. Like, I was 10 when she was born, she's 10 when Mila was born. And she's like my little mini-me. Like, we're the exact same person, we look the same. She just started cheer, which I used to do. Like, we're so much alike. Anyway, so, I'm sorry, you can hear the lawnmower in the back. Thankfully I had her, and she took care of Blake for me while I was at the hospital. He was happy. He was so excited to see me. Milo, my dog that I've had since I was 15 years old, he's a boy. He always, when I was pregnant, would come up to my belly and lay on my belly, lay his head on my belly and lick my belly and kiss it. And when I came home with no baby in my belly, I don't know how he knew, but he was freaking out. He was like, what? Where's this baby? He's like running around, crying at the door, like, where did you leave my baby? He was pissed at me that I did not bring my baby home. Or his baby. He was mad I didn't bring his baby home. And so Then we went over to my sister's house. My older sister, she had a baby, my niece, 11 days before Mila was born. So I hadn't met my niece yet. Actually, yeah, I did. I met her because there's a picture of me holding her like 2 days after she was born, and I was super pregnant and super swollen. And that's like, if you look back at those pictures now, like, it's definitely not normal pregnancy swollen. It's blood pressure, like, really bad. So, but that was only for like an hour. And then I went to the hospital 2 days after that. So, alright. So, we went over to see her, and I'm sitting there trying to breastfeed with our, like, pump, trying to pump, get something out so I can get to my baby when I get back. And trying to breastfeed and not producing is a whole other type of depression. It's so upsetting when you feel like you're not doing enough for your child and you can't produce enough for your child. You don't know until you go through it. It's just, but then I saw my sister holding her baby, and I just break down. I am having an emotional breakdown. Again, this is like my 20th emotional breakdown since Mila's been born, and it's only been like 2 days. But I'm having a breakdown because my mom looks over and she's like, "What is wrong?" And I'm like, I just want my baby to come home. I am so sad that just sitting here looking at Fiona, my niece, being home and happy and healthy, and my baby's just stuck at the hospital. Looking at her happy and healthy and with her mom, and my baby's stuck at the hospital, and I can't see her. I mean, I can see her at the hospital, but I can't bring her home. And she was breastfeeding too, and she was producing so much, like over the amount of what she needed, and I couldn't produce anything. So that also was like super upsetting. I was like, I need to go back to the hospital. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, we were going to make some returns at Walmart and stuff. Like, spend a little bit of a day away from the hospital while my husband was at the hospital with Mila. So she wasn't by herself. Jake was there. But I was like, going to go to Walmart and make some returns because I'm going to turn around all these cars. Make some returns because everyone brought a bunch of stuff to the hospital for Mila, and some people brought double. Like, we had double of a lot of things. So we were going to take some things back and go get some lunch together, me and my mom, and take a shower and get some new clothes, go visit Fiona, like just spend a little bit of time away from the hospital because I had been in there for like 7 or 8 days at this point. I hadn't seen the outside of the hospital in 7 or 8 days, and I needed a break. I wanted to take my baby with me so bad, but I couldn't. So Jake stayed there with her. He's like, "I'll stay here with her. You go get out of the hospital for a little bit," because he had gone out of the hospital for a little bit. Like, he went and got food with his parents, went to the store, went to go get food for me. Like, he was out of the hospital for a while. So he was like, "I'll stay here with her. It's okay." That did not last long. I went, saw the lake, took a shower, got changed, and came back. I went to go see my sister and my niece. But I went to go see my sister and my niece, and then I had a breakdown, so my mom just took me back to the hospital. She went and made the returns for me. Bless her heart. Oh, she did so much for me. And I had to be in the hospital, get my blood pressure under control and everything. Like, I was admitted to the hospital for 12 days, I think, and Mila was in the hospital for 17 days. So she was only in the hospital a little bit longer than me, but also, like, the first 5 days, or the first 4 days before she was born, I was there before her, obviously. I mean, she was there with me, but you know what I mean. My husband had to go back to go to work. He had to go back in to put leave in, which he couldn't. The military is, like, very frustrating at times. He had to go back to North Carolina, put leave in, all the leave he had built up, he had to put in to come back. So he had to leave, go back to North Carolina for a couple days, put his leave in, and then come back. He went, so she was born on the 6th. He went back on, like, the November 18th or something like that. So he was there for a while after she was born. And he went back. He spent Thanksgiving by himself, which is kind of depressing. He spent Thanksgiving by himself at home. But he came back for Christmas. He came back celebrate Christmas with us and his family and everything, and then we all went home the day after New Year's. So he used up all his leave for when she was born. But I was gonna say, gosh, I'm sweating. That's pretty much the whole story. Like, then we got home, everything was okay. I was back to my normal, happy, not depressed. Once I got my baby out of the hospital and she was healthy and I had her and I could just be with her 24 hours a day, I was happy. And we stayed with my mom for 2 months. We went back a couple days before Mila turned 2 months old, so we were at my parents for a while. But yeah, that's pretty much the story. It's a very long story, and I'm sorry if you guys stayed through this whole thing. Thank you for listening to me rant. I am gonna go back inside because I don't know what time it is, but because I'm recording on my phone. But I've been out here for about an hour, so it's probably close to noon already. I gotta feed Mila lunch. I gotta eat something. I haven't eaten anything all day. I've just been drinking my coffee. But I'm gonna go back inside because I'm hot. I need to cool down. And if you liked this video and want more story times, and dark because I'm in the garage. But if you want more videos like this, more story times, then make sure you like and comment and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss my videos. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.